So I have one last talk for you guys. We're gonna get through this, hopefully tying everything together with the same thought process of what does it take to be successful. We've gotten a lot of great information today, a lot of tactical stuff. We've learned a lot of golden nuggets. We wanna bring this together because the last thing that I want, and I've been to a lot of conferences, is you go to the conference, you learn a bunch, you get motivated, and you say, that's my theme, you're gonna make a change. And it lasts for all of 2 or 3 weeks, and then the conference is in the rearview mirror, and then life starts happening, and then we fall back to the same trap over and over and over again. So, getting into this talk, we're bringing it back to the first thing I said when we started this whole thing. This journey will be harder and take longer than you think. Is the fundamental truth that I've realized no matter what aspect that I'm going through in my life, if I've decided to be better at something, and you guys have all lived this, if you've decided to be better at something in any aspect of your life, financial, relationships, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, it does not matter, it tends to take longer and be harder than we initially think. And we talked about the pain that it takes to actually make the lifestyle change, which is what we're ultimately after, so we can be the happiest, healthiest version of ourselves. And when we're going through all this, I gave a statistic that over 60% of people, when they have little to no accountability, fall off before week 3. Isn't that crazy? We have had hundreds of people at a time going through a 6-week program. Every single one of them says, it's gonna be different, I'm gonna change my life, this is a priority. And without the accountability factor, everything falls apart. But accountability is an interesting thing. And it's something that I've been doing a lot of thinking about. And here's the thing that I've been saying in all my consults, because one of the agreements to do our programs nowadays is that when things get hard, because it's gonna get hard, it's the fundamental truth that we know, is that instead of running away from the problems or saying it's not the right time, and then eventually going through the cycle again and realizing, oh, this was hard, because it's gonna come back around every single time, you talk to us. You let us know. You put your ego aside. You confront the problem. It is by far the most difficult thing to do. But what's interesting is in every single one of my consults, people almost all the time say, well, I know what to do, I'm just not doing it. How many of you guys have said that before? It's true, and for the most part, you do. You know you should be working out on a consistent basis. You know that maybe we're eating too much sugar or drinking too much alcohol. We know those first steps that we need to take, but they always say is, I just need to be more consistent. I just need more accountability is the word they use. I need somebody to hold me accountable because I'm not doing it on my own. And when somebody has lots of accountability, it absolutely changes the game for them. But you to being able to be teachable and accept this fundamental truth is the difference between you changing your life. So I want to tell you a story. So I've been new to this whole stepdad arena. I got 2 amazing stepkids, Caden and Talon. And every year, Talon has a big race. It's called Grands. He races BMX. It is in Tulsa, Oklahoma over Thanksgiving. It is the biggest race. It is the national race. It is like the peak of what he does every year. The first year, or 2 years ago, he broke his collarbone and he couldn't race. He was super bummed about it. The next year, he's actually finally healthy. He gets to race, and the way his birthday falls is that, for example, this year, he's racing 9-year-olds all year, but his birthday is in November, right around Thanksgiving. So when we get to Grands, he has just turned 10 and now has to race 10-year-olds. Like these, and if you know that age, there's like a pretty significant change in a year. These kids look like they're twice his size. And this is such a big race that the actual Grands parts takes 2 days. Say Saturday and Sunday. There's races before, but we're just gonna focus on the Grands part. And kids are coming from all over the country to this race, and he's in 2 different divisions. And he has to win on Saturday to even qualify for Sunday. That's how big this race is. And if he loses on Saturday twice, he's out, he's done. We waited this entire trip for just 1 day instead of being there for the whole thing. It's a lot of pressure on the line for an 8-year-old, right? High expectations, he wants to do this, and you could tell, like when somebody's doing something that they're passionate about and they've really loved their sport, it's just amazing to watch. And you guys have seen that in yourselves, you've probably seen it in your kids, like it's just so awesome to see him do what he loves. And so he gets there, and we're there on Saturday, and he does exactly what he came to do. He dominates, he races, he qualifies for the next day. And he's on cloud 9. We get to end the day a little early. We get to go to the pool, because that's all he's thinking about today is, can we go to the pool this afternoon, right? He's just excited to go swimming. And he's on cloud 9, because he did what he came to do. And then Sunday comes around, same expectations, same pressure. And in both divisions, his first races, he loses both the races. And just like that, off this extreme high, he goes to this low low. It's devastating, right? To work so hard all year, to not be able to race last year, to have this expectation because he knows what he's capable of, and to fall short of what that goal was. It's hard. Now me, being trying to be the motivational person I am, while his dad and his mom are kind of consulting him, he's crying and he's emotional, right? And it happens, like these emotions take over us. He's in it, he's crying, he wants to throw his helmet. We're trying to calm him down. It's okay, dude, we just gotta work hard. All these things you would tell your kid. So I take out my phone, I record him crying like a little baby, because that's what I do. I record the experience. And I'm thinking in my head, like I got a reason for this, right? I'm recording this experience, this moment. And so we're on the way home. We have a long drive home, and he's in the back seat, and we're all talking about, what was good? What did he enjoy about this? Because the love of the sport is what's so important, more so than trying to win. And we all know that. And we're talking about these. I said, dude, you're racing age division up. Like the only way we're really going to compete with these kids is if you start training. Like we have got to start getting underneath the weights, doing this stuff. Like if I made a workout program, we worked out together, would you want to do that? He's like, yeah, heck yeah, that'd be awesome. Right? Like he's excited about the idea of training and doing the thing. He did I'm gonna do this thing, right? This is gonna be different this year. And so I'm navigating the stepdad journey, and I'm very big on like, this is your life. Like you gotta choose if you wanna do these things and how bad you want it, but it's different for kids, right? Because it had to be just a couple weeks later. I forget the scenario, but Tasha and Caden, they were doing their thing, and Talon had to come to work with me. I said, man, I gotta get this workout in real quick. Then I got some work to do, and we'll go home. It'll take about an hour and a half for me to get all this stuff done. But I'm doing this workout. Do you want to work out with me real quick? What do you think he said? No. Not no, but hell no. He didn't say that. He did not say not no, but hell no. But that I could see the look on his face because he's playing on his phone. He's choosing his short-term happiness for what we all know. Outside looking in, you say, dude, why would you choose to just stay on your phone? We know that you need to do this thing because Grands is going to happen in 9 months, and you got to start putting in the work now for what you really want. Does this sound familiar to you guys? How often does that happen in our lives? And so, I've been waiting for this moment. I take out my phone. And I show him the video. I said, dude, do you remember this? He's emotional in the video, he's crying and stuff. And what I was trying to do was to spark that emotion again of like, yes, Roy, you're right, I need to do this, let's go lift some weights. The reaction I got was him storming off, crying, and slamming the door to the office, and he did not work out that day, to say the least. I was like, strategy didn't work. But again, when we need accountability the most is when we want it the least, right? Nobody wants the coach or your significant other or your kids or anybody to pull out the video and say, I thought you said you wanted this. I've tried that before with some adults too, because I get them the consults and they say all the things that they want, and they say they want to quit the program, and I send them the video. That didn't work well either. But it's just so interesting to me for you simply just to confront the thing that you said you wanted most long term. And from the outside looking in, right now, it's so easy to say, well, this is what he needs to do, and this is what I need to do, and this is what I need. But in the moment, we talk about hard is hard, you guys. It's called a challenge for a reason. And so just recently, this had to be just a few weeks, maybe a month ago, I just had this epiphany of like, he needs accountability just like anybody else, him and Caden. So I got up one day and me and my wife talked. I said, hey, you guys just better be ready. We're working out tomorrow. And what was their response? Oh, it's summer break. I just want to play on my Oculus all day. It's literally what he does all day is play on his Oculus all day. I'm like, no, like we got these things. We know that you need to do these things and you'll be thankful that you did these things later on in the future. It's the accountability, it's the coach, it's the mentor, it's the structure, it's the program. And so we get to the gym. Talon, we're trying to get him, and we're like, dude, the people who ride their bikes. Like, you got to train your legs. We got to do squats. And this is all new to him, right? Tasha's trying to teach him how to get underneath the bar. And it hurt. Like, he doesn't want to be here. It's very obvious. So anything that can go wrong is going wrong. My shoulder, this hurts my shoulders to do. Oh, my knee, my legs. And Tasha's trying to coach him through and say, like, you got to do this. And same thing. He storms off, doesn't want to do this. This is too hard. He goes in the office and he's crying. And I pull him out. I said, Talon, come here. I said, dude, you're going to do this workout today, whether you like it or not. It's the hard truth. And I said, this is the work you have to do to be good at Grands. You know at Grands you're going to be racing 10-year-olds this year, right? Yeah. I was like, and you want to win, right? Like, that's what you're trying to do. Yeah, and you know this is important, right? Yeah. I said, dude, I'm not mad at you. Like, this is hard because this is new to you. You've never done this before. It's going to hurt your back. Your legs are going to be tired and sore. You're not used to having this kind of pain. But we know that this is what we got to go through to be where you want. And your attitude right now is going to change if me and your mom decide that you can have the fun stuff you want to do later, right? And he said, yeah. He did the workout. He crushed it. And afterwards, he was the happiest kid you could ever be. You guys ever be in that situation? You don't want to work out, you do the work, and all of a sudden you have this energy and you figure like, I don't know why I ever skip a workout. I love this, is so good. That's exactly what he felt. And guess what? The next day, it was the same situation, same thing. You didn't want to do it, it sucks, right? But how many of you guys are in that situation? Maybe you don't storm off and cry or things like that, but that's how you feel inside. You don't want to do this. This is hard. This sucks. And the issue you have is that when you were a kid, you had your parents to say, this is what we got to do, and you no longer have that. It's no different for you than it is for somebody else because Talon doesn't have a choice. I'm putting his ego aside for him. This is what we got to do because you have goals and we're going to try to accomplish these things. This is why accountability is so important. But you as an adult have to put your ego aside to say, I need to listen. I need to do these things. This is hard. I got to show up, not run away, not ghost my coach or whatever the thing is, right? This is what needs to happen. And we go through this again and again and again. And when we need accountability the most is we want it the least. Does that make sense to you guys? Does this resonate with you guys? Cool. So, the number one reason why somebody doesn't reach their goals. Any guesses? Motivation, not quite. Laziness, what'd you say? Consistency, we're gonna get to that, not quite the word that I'm looking for, but we're gonna evolve get to that, is they give up. I would like to say it's the only reason why you don't reach your goals. Because it's gonna take longer and be harder than you think, and you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna fall off, it's not gonna be perfect. And if you're not where you wanna be yet, it's because of one of three reasons, okay? Either one, you're not working hard enough. Maybe you've been getting 10,000 steps a day. And that's great, but maybe you've been doing that for the last 2 years and now it's not enough anymore. Maybe you have been working out 3 days a week for 30 minutes, but now your body's used to that. Maybe we need to do 4 days a week. Maybe you haven't been prioritizing your sleep, and I made this joke earlier. Maybe you need to sleep harder, right? Maybe you're just not going hard enough in the things you should be doing, and you're doing the right thing, just not enough of it. Or number two, you're not working smart enough. Maybe you're going. I see this all the time. Somebody's working out an hour a day, 6 days a week. They're hitting their macros perfect, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And it's like, you're just not working on the right things. And they're like, well, I'm just gonna start adding in a mile run after my workouts. I'm like, maybe you just need to manage your stress. Maybe you just need to sleep more. Maybe there's something else going on. Maybe you're not working on the right things. You ever heard work smarter, not harder? All these things, you guys, I didn't come up with this myself. I wish I could claim it, but we've all heard these things. We just need to apply it. Or number three, what happens to a lot of us, when you have the resources, you have my wife, you have Dr. Harrison, you have Dr. Joey, you have the program, you have the things, you know you're doing the right things and you're doing the hard things and you're working hard enough, but you're just not there yet. You're like, Roy, I've been doing this for a month. It's just not where I want to be yet. Well, in the grand scheme of you having to do this for the rest of your life, because you don't just hit the weight and say, oh, I'm done. I never have to work out again. Doesn't work that way. In the grand scheme of you doing this for the rest of your life, because you're making a lifestyle change, 1 month is nothing. 6 months is barely anything. We gotta keep going. And most of you guys, you give up before you get there. You lack Consistency. This is the thing you struggle with. Just doing the boring work again and again and again, day after day after day, because you get bored and there's new shiny object and you get on social media and there's a water fast. Oh, I don't need to eat protein. I just got to not eat anything and drink water and it'll solve all my problems, right? All these things keep happening. There's actually a framework for this that I wanted to share with you guys, okay? I do have to give credit. I was at a conference. And anybody who is operating or running a business, you've probably heard of Alex Hermosi. If you are trying to run a business, I highly recommend it. And he gave this talk about business. And again, I just think it's so crazy to me how fitness correlates with all aspects of your life and anything you're trying to do. So I did tweak this to fit what we're talking about today, but I got it from him. I wouldn't feel right if I didn't give him credit for this. But this is what I call the 5 stages of lifestyle change. So stage 1 is uninformed optimism. This is the, I'm gonna make a change. I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna stick to keto. It just seems so easy. Tracking my macros, how hard could it be, right? And it doesn't matter what program you go into, you have these high hopes that it's gonna be different this time. I'm not gonna go through the bad days, the timing is perfect, the kids are back in school, so I'm back into my routine. I just got over being sick, so now is the time to do this thing. My friends start in the gym, so I'm gonna go with them. It's gonna be different this time. It's uninformed because you haven't started taking action yet. You don't understand what it's actually gonna take. And it's optimistic because it's gonna be different. And so then you start your journey. And like we talked about earlier, you get to this 2, 3, 1 month mark. And we get to informed pessimism, where you actually been doing the things for a while. And it does not matter what you choose to do, there's a negative effect or hard work or something's gonna happen. This is when we start getting tired. This is when we start hitting plateaus. This is when you start debating with yourself, do I really wanna go to the gym, right? Do I really wanna be sore tomorrow? My friends are going out for drinks and that just seems like more fun. Or I want some cake at my kids' birthday. Like you just start debating with yourself. And here's an interesting fact that I learned. When you're debating on what you should or shouldn't do, who are you trying to convince? It's an internal dialogue. If the alarm goes off and you're debating to snooze or go to the gym, you're gonna win the argument every time, right? So a fun fact is just don't argue with yourself, just get out and do the thing that you know you're supposed to do. Easier said than done. But you're now informed. This is hard, this is difficult, this is gonna take a lot more work than I thought. Kind of sucks, I'm a little pessimistic about it, right? And that takes us to the valley of despair. And we've all been here before. This is where it really gets hard and the storm comes in. I like to think that this is where life starts to throw you curveballs. I think about it as a test. Hey, you said you wanted a lifestyle change. You said you were gonna stick to this no matter what. Bet. Let's see how bad you really want this. And it's good things, right? Good things happen. I see it all the time. Like you get married, you go on a honeymoon, you're celebrating, you're going on vacation, you're drinking, right? You're going on date night, you're doing these things and you just kind of let yourself happens, good things. You get a brand new puppy. Puppies are a lot to take care of and you also have less time for the gym because you're taking care of a puppy. That's exciting. Kids' birthdays, anniversaries, holiday season, right? It's just busy and crazy, but it's a good time. But then there's also the negative side of this when life challenges you. And it's tough talks. I don't usually talk about this, but I feel like we're here and I need to talk about it. Because you have the bad things like your car breaks down, you get sick, the kids get sick, you have to pull extra hours at work, like those things. But nobody ever wakes up and says, I just hope I have a bad day today. So I fall off the program and Coach Roy has to hold me accountable. And you know what? When he tries to hold me accountable, I'm not gonna answer him. And I wanna fall into a depression. I wanna resort to alcohol and have an addiction. And I wanna gain 50 pounds. That's what I'm gonna do today. Nobody ever says that, but yet it happens, and we're here. Nobody ever plans to live an unhappy life, to let themselves go. Nobody ever plans to go through a divorce. That's hard. How much do you want accountability when your relationships are falling apart? Just this week, I had 5 people reach out to me and tell me they have to cancel the program because they had a loss of family in their life. That's the thing nobody wants to talk about. That's the valley of despair to the most extreme. And I'll never know, and I hope I don't for hopefully ever, know what that feels like. But I can only imagine how hard that is, mentally and emotionally. And I would never be like, oh, no excuses, you need to make it to the gym today. Like, I wouldn't do that. But at the same time, there's always that defining moment where you decide, how bad do I really want this? And it's not gonna be perfect. You might take a week off the gym. You might fall off. You might fall into some negative habits. It happens, but it doesn't mean you're out of the game. As long as you've decided that you're not going to give up, you're still here. I'm not gonna give up on you if you're not gonna give up on you. It might take a day, it might take a week. Just like Talon when he was going through his emotions when he lost the game, right? He went through it and it was so emotional at the time, but sometimes we make long-term decisions for temporary situations. How often does that happen? Something happens and it's so much right now that we just ruin years and years and years. And then 5, 10 years later, because of that one defining moment that happened, you did resort to alcohol, you did resort to food, you did resort to this or to that. And now 5, 10 years later, you don't even recognize yourself. You feel lost, you're depressed, you're alone. And this is the stuff that nobody ever plans to happen. And when we need accountability the most, when we need this community, when we need the family, when we need those people there is when we're pushing them away the most. And to put your ego aside and say, I need this just to talk about it, just to be here and have some kind of support. So when I am ready to get back into it, I can step back into it. Whether it's a week, a month, 2 months, that's okay. And so this is the test. This is the issue, whether it's small or big. And when we talk about the big stuff, sometimes it makes your problem seem kind of small. You're like, man, some people are going through that and they figured it out. And I got a new puppy and I fell off of my fitness program, right? And so sometimes it just seems so silly. And the thing about excuses, you guys, is that the only person who likes them is the person who's giving them. The only person who likes excuses is the person who's giving them. That's the truth. And we repeat this cycle again and again and again. You go through the valley of despair, you convince yourself it's not the right time, you start over, you try the same program or a different program. It's gonna be different because the stars have aligned. You go through the informed pessimism, then you get back to the valley of despair, you realize, this is really hard, and then you give up and you start over. You lack consistency. And you do this again and again and again and again and again, and you never change, and all of a sudden it's 10 years later, and you're like, what is happening? And so if you take anything from this is that it's going to be harder and take longer than you think, is that this is the moment. In the valley of despair, you have to almost smile and say, this is it. This is the part where everybody else gives up. This is the part where I can put in the work and keep going forward, and I can have what so little people have. I can do the work and keep moving forward. This is the thing that nobody else is willing to get through. And if we can get through this, it takes us to informed optimism, where now you're informed of what it's actually gonna take, but you've got through these tests, and there's gonna be multiple, and it's gonna happen again and again and again, and you're gonna level up every time, and the capacity to handle stress is going to increase. And you're gonna say, this is actually possible for me. It's just gonna take me the rest of my life, because it's a lifestyle change. And once you have that, you realize that the goal was never the number on the scale. The goal was never to hit the PR. The goal was never to run the marathon. The goal wasn't technically to get to hormones. Those are milestones in the journey. Because once you hit the number on the scale, it's what's now? Do I go back to who I used to be, or do I set the next goal? And do I keep moving forward? This is a lifestyle change. And happiness is not something you take. It's not something you get. And to be honest, it's not something you deserve. It's something that you earn by going through this and realizing that there's a better version of you out there, and you're working hard to accomplish it. You're sacrificing the short-term happy for the long-term happy, the overall happy of your life. And once you figure that out, the journey in itself becomes the happiness. The progression of you being better every day is what brings you joy. And that's such a mindset shift of the gym, of I have to go to the gym versus I'm making myself better today. This is making me one step closer to my goal. This is just my valley of despair. This is just my test. And then we eventually get to stage 5, which is lifestyle change and fulfillment. And this is what creates the long-term happiness. And you cannot avoid this. If it's not happening to you right now, I promise it will happen. And it's coming. So this is a quote from Jerry Rice. Today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't. Now I love this quote, because everybody says, I've never had somebody say that I want to work out because I just have too much time on my hand. Nobody's ever said, I want to give up cookies because chicken breast tastes better. Nobody's ever said that to me, right? It's hard work. But to have the happiness and the benefits that you want, we have to be willing to do the work that nobody else has. So, I'm gonna sit. I walk too much. I want to tell you guys a story and have a little heart-to-heart with you guys. Because when we need accountability the most is when we want it the least. It's the premise of this whole talk. And I think back to when I first started Rough. And I couldn't even get one person to come to my boot camp. And before that, I went through a heartbreak. I was drinking. I was falling into a depression. I broke my hip. Like everything was spiraling out of control in my life. And my faith and the gym and starting this business literally saved my life. It's why I do what I do. And I'd pray, I'm like, God, if you just give me one person that would believe in me and this company, I would give them everything. I would, to help them change their life. I'll figure it out, I'll do what it takes. And we've come pretty far since then. It's been 10 years since I did that boot camp out at Louisiana and nobody showed up. And I don't know why Little Roy, and I still feel like I'm Little Roy, went through that valley of despair and he decided just to keep going. But he did, and I'm grateful every single day that he decided to do that and not resort back to the old life and resort back to the drinking and resort back to the depression and resort back to the not working out. Every day, that defining moment changed my life. And so the whole point of this part of my talk is that I can't expect you guys to be open and honest with our Rough family if I'm not open and honest with you guys about my struggles and what I'm going through. Because to be honest, like I've never struggled with my weight, you guys, but I think fitness correlates with all different aspects of our life. And I've been working really hard the last 10 years to figure out how to make this program impactful in a way that it changes your life, that gives you the experience. Like when I went through those hard times in the depression, I always said, I never want somebody to have to go through what I went through. And so I'm gonna help them, we're gonna get the fitness thing in check so they don't have to go through that. And what I realized is that it's not so much about avoiding or not going through those hard times, but having the community and the family to go through it together. Like that's the difference maker. When we live this life and we're trying to get to this life and you have that middle ground where you feel alone, what if there was a Rough family there to pick you up and support you and to get through those things? And so 10 years of trying to figure this out. And last year, a few years ago, we hired a company. I got a coach. I started practicing what I preach. I need a coach, need to figure this out, need a mentor. We hired a company, and we had really started to figure some things out. Like, it was so cool to see the amount of members we were getting, the systems we were putting in place, the opportunities we were giving to our employees. And I'm like, this is it. Everybody says that the 10-year mark is where like business starts to take off and you've been doing this for so long. And it was the biggest year we'd ever had last year. Like it was phenomenal. Like it was a dream come true to me. And then October comes around and we start making game plans for 2024. Because if we figure this thing out, if we put these certain things in place, then we could double what we're doing and we can genuinely make the impact in this world that I want to make. And so we start putting these things together and October comes around and things start to slow down a little bit. As much as I love to think that I've talked to enough people and I can look at you guys in the eye and say, the only way this is going to be a lifestyle change is if we make it through the holiday season, because it's not going to be perfect, but it is the true test. The rest of the year is easy. October, November, December is still slow for us. It is. I wish I could shake you guys during that time of the year. It's tough, man. And so November, Thanksgiving, the food, it's cold outside, it's not as dark, the numbers come down a little bit. People are making excuses of not motivated, all the things Tasha talked about. We're hearing it. We hear it all the time. December is usually our slowest month. But it's all right. We knew that happens. Then January comes, and we start to implement these things. We double the stuff. We start pouring so many resources. We start cranking the systems. We're so excited. And our January was worse than our December. I started making excuses for myself. And I said, this is because of this, or February's gonna be better. People are going to Planet Fitness, but they're gonna come around. All the excuses I normally give myself. And February comes around and it's just as bad, if not worse. I'm starting to scratch my head, like, we hired this company, I have the mentor, I'm doing all the right things, I'm working hard, I'm working smarter, we had figured, like, it was literally in the palm of my hand. And March isn't any better. And literally, this thing that I've been working for 10 years and I've dedicated my entire life to is crumbling right in front of me, and I have no idea what to do. And I genuinely, and very few people know this, but I'm thankful for the people that I have in my life that are close to me, I wanted to give up. I genuinely started looking at what it looks like to sell the business. Is it worth it? All this pain, all this suffering, like, what's the point? I could work a 9 to 5 and not have all this stress. I became the victim of my own life. And I was genuinely just sad. And there was a few things that ended up happening. And I was listening to a podcast, and it's just so funny to me that it's no different than the advice I'd give to every single one of you that's on your fitness journey right now. He said, you're right. It's too hard. Nobody in your situation has ever figured it out before, and you're right, the business is gonna fail. Now what? Are you happy? Give up. Or is it possible that you just haven't figured out something yet? And maybe you aren't, and this is just another test, and the light at the end of the tunnel is right there. And then I thought about you guys. And of course, I'm doing consults during this time, and people are giving me all these excuses, and it's plain as day in front of my face. I'm like, that's a load of crap. People are like, there's nothing I can do. I can't lose weight. I'm like, it's possible. You just need to figure it out. And then I'm like, huh. And I don't know what it was, but I just had this aha moment. And I said, fuck this. I don't like feeling this way. This is how I felt 10 years ago. And this sucks. This is the valley of despair. This is my next test. This would be no different than what I would tell Talon, what I would tell my kids, what I would tell my wife, what I would tell each and every one of you is, and what? It happened. It sucked. There's nothing you can do about it. We have two options. Give up and go back to who you used to be, which you weren't happy there either, or we can try again. And as long as you don't give up, you're still in the game. And since that moment, this was literally a few months ago. Like literally, I was gonna cancel the summer event and refund everybody, and I was just so done. And I literally just said, fuck it. Genuinely were the words that I used. And I said, what's the objective? The objective is to live my happiest, healthiest life, and making this impact and building this business has always been a part of that. To give my family the time and the resources and the things that we want so we can live our happiest, healthiest life and making an impact doing something that I'm passionate about, that I care about. It's no different than what I would teach you guys. And so I had this idea and this thought in that moment of like, I'm not giving up, and I need to be real with you guys, tell you, because we're all going through something. Whether you like it or not, we all have our pain, we all struggle, and we all want to at some point give up. But you guys are the things that hold me together, each and every single one of you. And so I had this thought, I had this idea, and you guys might have seen it, noticed it, not noticed it, but I had this little yellow gold band that I've been wearing for the last week. It looks like this, and on the inside it says commitment. 10 years ago, I made this commitment to doing all of this. And we've come a pretty long way since then. No different than you've made a commitment to live your happiest, healthiest life as well, to get in shape, to work out, to do the nutrition, to do all of these things you said you're gonna do for that deep why that I asked you guys to write down at the beginning of this conference. Why are you doing this? And so, this gold line represents your goals and the powerful why behind them, right? Gold represents something of value. Surrounding it is a black band symbolizing the pain, the setbacks, struggles, and obstacles you will face on your journey. Let this band remind you of your unwavering commitment to your dreams. No matter how tough the road gets, you will keep pushing forward because your why is stronger than any setback. Embrace the change, stay dedicated, and never lose sight of that thin gold line. The beginning part says your commitments to the challenge, like, hey, we want to commit to 15 minutes of activity a day. It says, hey, we want to track our food, those kinds of things that we know will help us move us in the right direction. But it's the bottom piece today that I really want you to pay attention to, because it talks about your commitment of not giving up. No matter the setback, no matter how, because that's the old you. The old you makes excuses. The old you doesn't know how to set boundaries and follow through on them. The old you gives up when things get hard. But you're stepping into a new version of your life that no matter what happens, you might have a bad day, you might have a bad week, you might fall off sometimes, but in the grand scheme of your life, you're not giving up. And if you read through this paper and you mean it when you say, I am ready for change and I'm willing to get through these hard times, and what I'm saying is resonating with you, then you'll put the band on. You'll sign the paper and you'll make the commitment the same that I did. Again, as long as you don't give up in the grand scheme of your goals, you can always be reminded of that goal. And I think there's something powerful to be said that to give up on your goals would mean you would have to physically take this band off and say, I'm done. And so whenever you feel at your lowest point and you're done and you're out and it's been months and months and months, you look at this band and you say, if I'm not giving up on me, Roy's not giving up on me. If I'm not giving up on me, this rough family's still there for me. And we will be here for you. And if this resonates with you guys and you wear the band, and again, nobody's making you guys do this. But if this resonates with you and you want to make the commitment to a real lifestyle change and you really feel like you're a part of the rough family and we're in this together and we're going to get through whatever it takes at the end of the day, you wear this band, we'll take a big group photo, it'll be great. And this will symbolize the start of something for every single person who starts coming through this program and what this means and what this represents, because I know that you guys are going through it too. So read through the paper, if you would like, sign it, put the band on, we'll take a big group photo.
1, 2, 3, commit! I love it, I love it.